Once upon a time, a city girl named Felicity and a city boy named Peter bought an abandoned 1830s farmhouse in New York. And today, March 19th, 2025, it is our 19th day in the house, and it is our first time exploring the woods. So, this has been something that's been on my bucket list for a while. We bushwhacked back the land right around the house last summer so that we could get construction work going on. But there's a stretch of forest that makes up our west property boundary and our north property boundary, along with the stream. And we haven't had a chance to explore it. So, with the Orkin folks bringing the dumpster a few days ago, they didn't end up using it. And so that proved to be the impetus to go out and start exploring the woods, because the question became, well, since we have this dumpster here that we've paid for and it's empty, we might as well fill it with stuff. And we knew from being able to look out both from the house and from kind of the edge of the cleared area that there was stuff in the forest, but we didn't know what kind of stuff, and we didn't know how far back the property line went. So our first foray into the forest was actually the day that the Orkin folks were here. It was a beautiful afternoon. So I'm going to show you that first, because that will set the stage for the exploration that we are going to do today. So, time warp. Peter and I are going on a limited scale expedition. Peter saw deer this morning on the other side of the stream. I missed it because I was in the shower. I have been looking for the deer every day. Anyway, back on track. We have a opportunity to clean up all the stuff in the yard, most of which I think we can pick up ourselves, but there's some metal thing back here behind this wood pile. Peter says a lot of the stuff that's growing up the trees is poison ivy. How do you know if it's dormant?
Because it looks like those very red ropes on the trees. What the poison ivy looks like.
Oh. So this is our destination. Peter says they're a locker kit, and I think that's probably correct. Let me come around here.
That's what they are. They're lockers. You can see.
Were these, oh my God. Those aren't school lockers. Those are more like, I mean, they're like work lockers.
Or gym lockers.
Or gym lockers or something.
Work lockers.
Okay, so yes, definitely something we would like removed from the property. As you guys can see as we're walking down, especially as we get closer to the stream, there is an awful lot of stuff that has come down on this property. There's quite a lot of tarps.
Metal fencing over there. There's another tarp.
Yeah, that metal fencing, which is right there, that would also be a great thing to take out. I mean, some of this stuff, if we had to, we could put it in a bag and put it in our regular bin over time. But anything that's big and bulky would be fantastic to take out.
Like where that property line is, especially.
Well, the main part of the stream comes around this way, but there is a secondary stream back there.
Yeah.
And then there's this really beautiful little step
This part
here. I'm guessing that is more or less that's
probably the original course.
The property line. Although, in theory, and then probably the flag is gone. In theory, somewhere over there. Oh no, I can see it, Peter. I see it. The pink. Can you?
Yep.
That pink. I don't know if you guys will be able to see it from here. That pink is our corner mark. Which goes from there, and it goes up.
The circle of the stream
is mostly ours.
Yeah.
And that is technically on the other person's property. Two properties. This property here, the abandoned one, doesn't come all the way down. There's a little finger of it, like in this corner, that belongs to that next parcel. It was super exciting to get out in the woods. It was both dirtier and less dirty than I expected, given that this property has not been somebody's primary residence, as far as we can tell, for a couple of decades. So it made me really excited to get out there and start pulling stuff out, because it seemed like a manageable project, and also a project that would have an immediate visual impact. So several days after this brings us up to today. And I was out working in the yard this afternoon. Now, I will say that my original plan for today was to go out and actually start pulling stuff out. My original plan was to actually pull out those lockers. But you guys are going to see, I got pretty excited about being out in the woods, and I wanted to go all the way back and get a full scope of what was there. So most of what you're going to see today is an exploratory mission and very little trash removal. that is a plan for a future date. However, I did do a little bit of trash removal, and I started with there's a bramble patch that is kind of in the middle of the cleared area of our backyard, and it had a couple of pieces of trash in it. And since that was such an immediately visible place to start with, that is where I started today's adventure. So happily, the white thing that was in there turned out to be just a piece of styrofoam, which is what I thought. And then for a crazy minute, I thought it might be a sink. It was not. But it's occurring to me now, as I look at all the brambles between me and that the short sleeve option, while comfortable, may not have been the smartest choice. Happily, there's one thing this property doesn't lack. It is random bits of wood. And I found this guy just down there by the stump sticking up. And it's about as tall as me, 5 feet. It's got a good heft to it. Unfortunately, I can't heft it and you at the same time. So I'm going to put you down. Glasses out. That was remarkably easy. Time for the big kahuna. Ta-da! Victory! It actually was remarkably easy. Nothing creepy or weird leapt out of me. I don't know how it got in there with the brambles all around it, but it came nicely out through this pathway here. I was able to balance a corner of it on the old stick. I was thinking I might save it because it's a nice big shallow tray, but it's got a big crack in the bottom. Peter and I have had this conversation. There's a difference between being frugal and being a hoarder, and I feel like this is borderline hoarder. Quite a bit lower than it was when I was here last week, but it's still trickling. This is why I think it's so weird that we're under a red flag warning. This is a seasonal stream, so there's obviously enough water to be feeding it. God, this is beautiful. I could just sit down here all night. I don't really want to put my foot down. Maybe we'll borrow one of these. Yeah. Oh, my feet are getting wet. My feet are getting wet. So after a rather inelegant leap across the stream, I was over on the island for the first time. And my gosh, you guys, it is beautiful. That's the big tree that is blocking the gap. And this is what remains of the shed. The shed has been here ever since we bought the property. And it is a minor demolition project in and of itself. I'm going to try to get some of the tires and chicken wire and things out of there, but most of that is going to have to be a project for another day. Gosh, look at how absolutely beautiful. Oop, a couple more tires there. How absolutely beautiful this stream is. Trickling off towards the west and towards Seneca Lake. I'm almost at the point of the island where the Slauson Cutoff comes around to meet the main channel. It's actually way less dirty back here than I would have thought. And look, I just spotted that. That looks like a clay drain pipe or something. What I'm trying to get to, and I'm not sure if it's this side or the other side, it's on this side. I'm trying to get to that silver tarp and see if I can grab that. I don't think I'm going to be able to get down and grab that. The ground is pretty sturdy, but I also am conscious that I'm walking on ground that I don't know. Well, it turns out that was pretty easy. The only thing that was sort of tucked under is this slab here. And I just pulled it up and over and across with the stick. It looks in pretty good shape, but I am curious to see if we could maybe stretch it out, if it's in decent shape. Because who doesn't need tarps? The stream actually gets pretty narrow right here, so I'm wondering if the ground is solid enough, I can maybe just sort of leap across. I only got my 1 foot a little wet. It's the foot that was a little wet already, so now it's just more wet. And ooh, what a great shot. Look at that. Look at that. It's just beautiful back here. And look, you can see it kind of trickling away down there. I have some questions for you all because there's some interesting stuff back here. First of all, which kind of jug is that? It has a fluted opening and what looks like a strap coming up from the bottom. Is that a milk jug? We're not really in dairy country, although from the smell, I know that there are ruminant animals around whose manure is being used. It's a household implement of some kind. And this is what's left. It's going in the bin, but your guess to what it is would be greatly appreciated. And this makes me sad. There's a wood drawer sitting out here. I don't know where it's from. It looks like it was in decent shape before it was chucked out here, or at least the frame was. I hate seeing stuff like that just thrown away. I'm seeing another tire over there. Part of me wants to start hauling this stuff out, and part of me says it's so beautiful out. And I haven't even been back this far, and I kind of want to keep going. Is that a toilet seat lit up there? I'm not sure. So I don't know if you guys can see in the light, but that tiny little speck of pink just there, that is our corner boundary mark. So I'm going to see maybe if I can get through here. The nicer thing is this back half of the woods, there aren't so many brambles in it, so it's a little bit easier to walk around. I made it, you guys. Look. That is the corner of our property, and it goes at an angle that way, and the stake is basically where her driveway turns the corner. And the bank is very steep here, so down there you can walk to it, and then it drops, and we're up, I don't know, a good 8 feet here. Distances are so deceptive. It looks like you could just walk down another little bit on the stream, be at the lake, but that's not actually true. Oh, look at that. The sun is touching the horizon. This is one of the other things I wanted to discover. You can see these lumps of stone from a distance, but it's hard to tell what they are. And I'm not 100% sure if these are even on our property or Karen's. I'm wondering if these were left over from when they built her house. But there's one pile, and then there's a second pile. But then the third pile, which I'll walk up to in a minute, it is dressed. It looks like these are just sort of boulders, rocks. When does a rock become a boulder? A small boulder? These are large pieces of rock just sort of tumbled around, but that third one in the line actually looks man-made, like the stone in it looks shaped and man-made. And in the 5 minutes it took me to get here, not even, the sun has slipped below the horizon. Also, another discovery. I don't know if you're going to see it here very well. It's this piece of metal. Put it next to the tree here for comparison. So it's about 4 feet long. It's twisted, but originally it was, I'm sure, was straight. And it has these hooks on them with a couple of nails hanging off of them. So I don't know if this was something from the barn, maybe. We're not going to save this. This is definitely scrap metal, but I'm curious to know if it looks familiar to anybody. This is one of the nails that came off that set of metal hooks. And I don't know if it's actually old or if it just feels really old because it's been out weathering. Oh, wow. So I'm making my way over to that man-made cairn. And I saw this on the ground. It's sealed, or closed anyway. I've never seen a bottle shape this size. I'm going to leave it here for a future pickup because I definitely do not have enough arms at the moment to carry the stick and the iron thing and this. Any idea what this is, guys? Oh, now this makes me sad too. It's a chair. That's the seat of it there, and that's the back. So here she is. This is the third of the stone piles, and the only one that looks man-made. Those are definitely, I would call them flagstones of some kind. They remind me a great deal, actually, of the castles that I saw when I was house sitting in Europe. What's curious, though, is that I'm not seeing where on Karen's property, which is just behind this pile, these might go. So I'm going to have to ask her about these. I don't have any immediate use for them, but if they are something that she doesn't want, I could see making a pathway perhaps out of those, because Lord knows we could do with some pathways on this property. So this is the distance from the house. It's obviously a huge deal bigger than our yard in Tulsa, which was like 0.15 acres. This is 1.7. And yet, so on one hand, I look at this and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much space. And on the other hand, I'm like, well, but it would only take 2 minutes going straight to go to the door from here. I have seen neighborhood cats come down and walk through this area, and it looks like there's a little bit of path here. So I'm up here behind the drainage field now. And honestly, you guys, I'm not seeing much trash at all, or really much of interest up this section, which would make sense. The winds blow from the way you're looking past the camera behind us, and the property is also lower behind me. So anything that would sort of move of its own volition would definitely come down this way. Also, the restaurant is over there, and I'm assuming they did at least a modicum of, keeping it tidy. Look at the clouds. That Karen seems to be the last interesting thing. All right. The thing that started it all, the set of lockers. Ta-da! I've arrived. Several times walking around, I've had a faint smell of garlic, so I think there's ramps around here, which is great. So this is not terribly heavy to move. What I hadn't realized when we were back here before, and I'm looking at just now, can you guys see it? There's a wood structure underneath this that goes from here all the way over to there, and goes all the way back to there. I know distances are a little bit hard to see, but that is massive, whatever that is. It is like a wall. I'm 5 foot, so I always try to figure like, okay, if I laid on it, like how much further would it be? It's definitely taller than I am. I think it's taller than Peter, so I'm gonna guess it's 8 feet this way. And it looks almost square, so maybe it's 8 feet the other way too. Gosh, I'm sure it's not in great shape after having been out here, but what a find that would be. There's some accumulation in here, but I get the feeling that these haven't been here a ridiculously long time. I really want to see what that set of shelving is. Let me see if I can move this and get a better idea of what's here. My goodness, look at those clouds. Wow. Well, I'll say this. It's been here long enough for the side that was down to have rotted away. All of these sides are somewhere here in the muck now that I've turned it over. I think I could drag this out of here. I'm not going to try tonight because the light is fading. And this is a really solid set of boards. This thing is huge. Am I crazy, you guys, to hope that this is salvageable? I'm crazy, right? It's been sitting out in the woods. It's going to be deteriorated, in bad shape. Oh, what a find it would be. All right, let me take a look at these plaques. There's no writing that I can see left on any of the tags. Okay. Well, I'm going to count this a successful evening, even though I've not really hauled out too much trash. I need to spend more time out here, you guys. I spent so much time in the house this winter. I'm not walking in the mornings like I used to, which I need to get back to doing. I really am so much happier when I'm out here, especially when I can be near moving water. I guess we'll call this the artfully disheveled look. Thank you so much for joining me on today's journey. Do let me know what you think of the treasures that I found today and what they might be. And I will see you soon in my next video. Bye for now. P.S. Even though it's inexpensive and I don't know what we're going to do with it, I've decided to keep that black thing.